The great hall of the Galactic Council fell silent as Ambassador Park Hyun-woo walked to the speaking platform. His black uniform was perfectly pressed, and his face showed no emotion. Behind him, Admiral Ko Sang-min and Dr. Lee Yun-bi stood, at attention. The three humans looked calm, but something felt different today. 847 species filled the massive chamber. Some breathed oxygen like humans, others needed special suits. The Altarians glowed with soft blue light, while the rock-like Catherians sat perfectly still. All eyes were on the human delegation. Counselor Vexithera, the tall Altarian who led today's meeting, raised her glowing hand. Ambassador Park, you requested to speak to the full council. Please begin. Park pressed a button on his tablet. His voice carried clearly through the chamber's speakers. Honored members of the Galactic Council, I come before you today with an important message from Earth and all human colonies. The chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. Human announcements were usually about new technology or help with conflicts. Park waited for silence, then continued. After careful consideration, humanity has decided to withdraw from the Galactic Council effective immediately. The reaction was instant. Hundreds of voices rose in shock and confusion. Some delegates stood up, others made loud noises of surprise. The crystal-like beings from Arcturus chimed in high, clear tones. Even the normally quiet plant people from Verdania rustled their leaves in distress. Vexithara's glow flickered with surprise. She raised both hands for quiet. Ambassador Park, surely you misspoke. Humans have been valued council members for 37 years. There is no mistake, Park replied calmly. All human personnel will leave council space within 90 days. We are ending all treaties, trade agreements, and military cooperation. General Mordak, a massive Catherian made of living stone, leaned forward. His voice rumbled like an earthquake. Why? What has the council done to offend humanity? Park looked directly at the general. We have what you might call philosophical differences. We no longer believe our goals align with the council's direction. Dr. Lee Yun-bi stepped forward. Her voice was softer but just as firm. For years, we have studied how different species interact. We have learned much about cooperation and conflict. Based on our observations, we believe it is time for humanity to pursue a different path. Counselor Yex Nara from the Ethereal Dominion floated higher in her energy field. Her voice sounded like wind chimes. But humans solve our most difficult problems. Your mediators end wars. Your engineers fix our technology. Your doctors cure diseases we cannot treat. Admiral Ko spoke for the first time. The human species is grateful for what we have learned during our time here, but we must follow our own destiny now. The chamber erupted again. This time the noise was angry and demanding. Species that rarely agreed on anything all seemed united in their shock. Some delegates were already using their communication devices, probably calling their home governments. Vexithera struggled to restore order. When the noise finally died down, she spoke with obvious worry. Ambassador, perhaps we could discuss this privately. If there are problems, we can work together to solve them. Park shook his head. Our decision is final. Human ships are already preparing to leave. We have withdrawn our personnel from all council military operations. Our trade routes will close in 30 days. This is impossible, shouted Director Yimkarath, whose silicon-based species ran much of the council's computer systems. 40% of our infrastructure depends on human technology. You cannot simply leave. We can, and we will, Ko replied. All human-designed systems will continue working, but we will provide no more updates or support. Dr. Lee added, we have prepared detailed manuals for maintaining existing systems. We are not trying to cause harm, only to end our involvement. The Cerulean Collective's representative, Counselor Thel Vanis, stood up. His blue skin had turned pale with worry. The economic disruption alone will affect billions of beings. Trade between 17 sectors flows through human shipping networks. We understand this will cause short-term difficulties, Park said. That is why we are giving 90 days notice instead of leaving immediately. High Arbitrator Zulneth from the Justice Division spoke up. Her voice was sharp with concern. Humans currently mediate 53 ongoing disputes. Without your arbitrators, these conflicts could become wars. Admiral Ko's expression never changed. The Council managed disputes before humans joined. We have confidence in your ability to do so again. Vexithara was glowing brighter now, a sign of stress among her people. Ambassador Park, on behalf of the entire Council, I am asking you to reconsider. Whatever problems exist, we can address them together. Park looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes or optical sensors of various delegates. The decision is not made lightly. Humanity spent 3 years considering this choice. We are not angry with the Council or any of its members. We simply believe our paths must diverge. Where will you go? Asked Captain Bexthor of the Council Defense Force. Human colonies are spread across Council space. That is no longer your concern, Ko answered smoothly. Human civilians will relocate to areas outside Council jurisdiction. Our military forces will escort them to safety. Dr. Lee stepped forward. Again. We want to part as friends. We hope individual species will remember us kindly. But humanity's time in the Council has ended. The chamber fell quiet as the full meaning sank in. Humans were not just leaving, they were taking all their knowledge, technology, and expertise with them. The Council had become dependent on human problem-solving without realizing it. General Mordak's stone features shifted into what might have been worry. What of the Rim conflicts? Human tactics are the only thing holding back the raiders. The Council has many capable military minds, Ko replied. We suggest promoting some of your own officers who have worked with human advisors. Vexithara made one last attempt. Ambassador, will you at least tell us why? What have we done wrong? Park gathered his tablet and prepared to leave. We wish the Council well in all future endeavors. Our official withdrawal documents have been transmitted to your offices. Good day. The 3 humans turned and walked toward the exit. Behind them, the chamber exploded into chaos. Delegates shouted questions, demanded explanations, and argued among themselves. Some called for emergency sessions, others for military action to stop the humans. But Park, Ko, and Lee walked calmly through the noise. They had said what they came to say. As they reached the door, Ko spoke quietly to his companions. Phase 1 complete. Signal the fleet to begin Phase 2. The door closed behind them, leaving 846 species to face a galaxy without humanity for the first time in nearly 4 decades. None of them yet understood how much their world was about to change. 3 days after the human announcement, Councillor Thelvani stared at the numbers on his screen in disbelief. The Cerulean Collective's chief economist had spent 72 hours calculating the impact of humanity's withdrawal. The results were worse than anyone imagined. This cannot be correct, he muttered, running the calculations again. But the numbers did not change. 43% of intersector trade moved through human-controlled shipping routes. 61% of current diplomatic mediations involved human arbitrators. The Council's infrastructure depended on human technology in ways no one had bothered to track. His communication device buzzed. Director Yimkorath's silicon face appeared on the screen, flickering with stress patterns. Thelvanis, we have a crisis. The quantum communication array is failing. How is that possible? Humans said their systems would keep working. The main system works fine, but 3 backup relays have failed, and we cannot repair them. The humans took all the technical specifications with them. My engineers are trying to reverse engineer the technology, but it could take years. Thelvanis felt his blue skin grow pale. Without communication relays, coordination between distant worlds would become nearly impossible. What about the other systems? Same problem everywhere. The humans built everything to work perfectly, but they never shared the detailed plans. We can use what exists, but we cannot fix or improve anything. On the other side of the galaxy, High Arbitrator Zulneth was discovering her own problems. Her floating form moved between communication screens as reports poured in from across Council space. Without human mediators, 3 border disputes had already erupted into open fighting. Arbitrator, The Helixians and Crystallines are shooting at each other again, reported her assistant. They refuse to accept mediation from non-human species. What about the territorial dispute in Sector 7? The mining colonies have declared independence. They say without human guarantees they will not honor council authority. Zulneth's energy field flickered with frustration. Humans had a gift for making enemies trust each other. Other species either took sides or were seen as biased. She had never realized how much peace depended on human neutrality. Her communication board lit up with more alerts. 5 more conflicts, 2 trade wars, and a resource dispute that might involve military action. All situations that human diplomats could have solved in days. Meanwhile, Captain Bae Jin-ho was loading the last cargo containers onto his freighter. The Korean captain had spent 15 years running supplies between council worlds. Now he was evacuating the final human civilians from Altair Station. "Captain, this is Station Control," came a voice over his radio. "Please reconsider your departure. We need human freighters to maintain supply routes." Bae checked his manifest. 37 families, all the remaining humans on the station. "Sorry, Control. Orders are orders. Find other shipping companies." "But Captain, you know these routes better than anyone. The navigation through the void fields requires human expertise." Bae almost smiled. The Altarians thought humans had special navigation skills. The truth was simpler. Humans bothered to map dangerous areas properly instead of just avoiding them. "Check your databases. We uploaded all our star charts yesterday." "Charts are not experienced, Captain, please." Bae switched off the radio. Through his cargo bay windows, he could see other human ships leaving the station. Families, scientists, engineers, traders, all heading for the designated departure points. The evacuation was proceeding exactly as planned. Dr. Choi Min-hee watched the scene from the station's observation deck. The human psychologist had studied alien behavior for 12 years. Now she was documenting their reactions to humanity's departure. Her research would be valuable in the coming years. The Altarians moved differently now, their usual graceful gliding replaced by quick, nervous movements. Their blue glow flickered constantly, a sign of stress. They had become used to humans solving their problems. Without that safety net, they seemed lost. "Dr. Choi?" A young Altarian approached her. "Are you really leaving too?" "Yes, Cathara. All humans are going. But who will teach the integration classes? Who will help new species join the council?" Choi smiled sadly. "You will. Your people are wise and kind. You just forgot that because humans made it easy." Back in the council chambers, an emergency session was underway. Representatives from hundreds of species argued and demanded action. Vexathara struggled to maintain order as panic spread through the assembly. "The economic projections are catastrophic," Thelvanus reported to the assembly. "Without human trade networks, 17 systems will face supply shortages within months." General Mordak's stone features showed rare emotion. More concerning are the military implications. Human strategic advisors were embedded in every major defense operation. The Rim territories are already reporting increased raider activity. "What about forcing them to stay?" suggested Captain Vorth of the Hegemony. "We could arrest their ships, prevent the evacuation." The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some species supported the idea, others found it unthinkable. Admiral Koh's prediction about council unity seemed accurate. They could not agree on anything. Vexathara raised her glowing hands for silence. Any attempt to detain humans by force would be both morally wrong and practically impossible. Their fleet strength is significant. "Then what do you suggest?" demanded Mordak. "We try to understand why they left. Perhaps we can address their concerns." But understanding required information humans were not sharing. Every attempt to contact human officials met the same polite refusal. "Humanity wishes the council well, but our decision is final." Director Yimkorath had been running new calculations. "I have been analyzing human activities over the past year. They reduced their dependence on council resources by 40%. They withdrew investment from 18 major projects. They were planning this." "For how long?" asked Vexathara. "Based on the pattern, at least 3 years. This was not a sudden Decision. The realization hit the chamber like a cold wave. Humans had been preparing to leave for years while continuing to serve the council faithfully. They had planned every detail while acting as loyal members. Where did they go? Asked Zulneth. Our sensors show human ships heading for unexplored sectors. That is classified information, came a calm voice from the chamber entrance. Everyone turned to see Ambassador An Kyung-soo, who had served as a human diplomatic observer for 2 years. Unlike other humans, he had not left. Ambassador An, Vexthara said with relief. Perhaps you can help us understand. I am no longer an ambassador, An interrupted. I am here as a private observer only. I have no authority to speak for humanity. But surely you know something. Why did your people leave? An looked around the chamber with sad eyes. Sometimes, counselor, the answer is not in what people say, but in what they choose not to say. Before anyone could ask what that meant, alarms began sounding throughout the station. The emergency communication system activated, broadcasting, across all council space. Attention all vessels. Unknown raiders have attacked the mining colony at Zerion Prime. Council defense forces are requesting immediate assistance. All available ships respond. Vexathera looked at the military coordinators. General Mordak, what is our response capability? The Stone General's expression was grim. Reduced. Our fastest response ships were human-designed. Our tactical coordinators included human advisors. We can respond, but not as effectively as before. As the emergency session dissolved into crisis management, no one noticed An quietly leave the chamber. Outside, he activated a small communication device. This is Observer. An, the situation is developing as predicted. The Council is discovering their limitations without our support. Recommend proceeding to Phase 3. A voice answered in Korean. Understood. The Admiral sends her regards. See you at the rendezvous point. An smiled for the first time in days. Soon he would rejoin his people, and the Council would learn whether they could survive without humanity's help. 3 years earlier, engineer Kim Do-hyun stood in a secret meeting room deep within Luna Base. Around the table sat 20 of humanity's most trusted leaders. The room was shielded from all electronic surveillance, and each person had been carefully chosen for their loyalty and skills. What you will hear today cannot leave this room, said President Lim Jae-sung, Earth's representative to the Hidden Group. We are gathered because humanity faces a choice that will determine our future for centuries. Dr. Yoo Tae-kyung, humanity's chief scientist, activated a holographic display. For the past 5 years, I have been analyzing Council policies toward member species. The patterns are disturbing. The display showed development charts for different species over time. Look at these graphs. Every species that joins the Council shows rapid advancement for the first few decades, then their progress slows dramatically. Admiral Song Hye-jin leaned forward. What causes the slowdown? Council integration policies, Yu replied. New members are assigned roles based on their natural strengths. Once assigned, they are discouraged from developing in other areas. The Council maintains control by keeping species dependent on each other. Kim Do-hyun studied the data. What about humans? We have been members for 34 years. We are the exception, but not by accident. Humans were assigned the role of universal problem solvers. We are encouraged to develop all technologies and skills because the Council needs us to fix their problems. President Lim's expression was grim. Show them the economic data. New charts appeared. Human colonies generate 63% of the Council's technological innovation. Our trade networks move 40% of all goods. Our mediators prevent an estimated 200 conflicts per year. We are not members, Admiral Song realized. We are employees. Diplomat Jang Soo-jin had been quietly reviewing documents. I have been analyzing Council voting records. In every major decision affecting human interests, we are outvoted by coalitions of species who benefit from our services. Examples? Asked the President. The Terran Mining Rights Act. Voted down. 634-1. The Human Cultural Preservation Amendment. Failed 712-1. The Technology Sharing Reciprocity Proposal. Rejected 698 to 1. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity contributed more to the Council than any other species, but had less political power than most minor members. Engineer, Kim looked up from his tablet. What do you propose we do? President Lim stood up. We leave, but not today and not in anger. We will plan a complete withdrawal that protects human interests and demonstrates our capabilities. That will take years, protested Admiral Song. Exactly. We will call it Project Exodus. Kim, I want you to design our new infrastructure. Song, prepare our fleet for independent operations. Zhang, begin secret negotiations with non-council species. Dr. Yu raised his hand. What about the council? They will not simply let us leave. They cannot stop us if we do this correctly, Lim replied. But we must be careful. For the next 3 years, we will appear to be loyal council members while secretly preparing for independence. The meeting continued for hours as they planned humanity's greatest undertaking. When it ended, each person had specific assignments that would reshape human civilization. In the present day, those plans were bearing fruit. Captain Park Wubin guided his scout ship through the asteroid field surrounding New Terra, humanity's first independent colony. The massive world hung before him like a blue and green jewel, surrounded by space stations and defensive platforms. Control, this is Scout 7, approaching the trade station with the latest group of refugees. Copy Scout 7, Docking Bay 12 is ready for you. Park smiled as he maneuvered toward the station. 3 years of secret construction had created something amazing. New Terra was just one of 12 new human worlds, all connected by advanced jump gates that made council technology look primitive. Admiral Song Haijin watched the arrival from the station's command center. Her fleet had grown to over 800 ships, all built in hidden shipyards using improved human designs. The council had no idea how advanced human technology had become. Admiral, we have a communication from the council, reported her aide. They are demanding to know our location. Standard response. Inform them we are outside council jurisdiction and wish them well. The aide smiled. They are not happy about that answer. I suspect they will be even less happy when they discover what we have built here. On the planet's surface, engineer Kim Do-hyun stood in the central plaza of New Seoul, the colony's capital city. Around him, beings from dozens of species worked, together on various projects, but these were not council species. Kim, the Wanderer delegation has arrived, said his assistant. They want to see the manufacturing center. The Wanderers were a nomadic species that had refused to join the council centuries ago. They were fascinated by humanity's technology and had agreed to share their knowledge of unexplored space. Excellent. Show them everything. We have nothing to hide from our allies. That was the difference between humanity's new confederation and the council. Information was shared freely among member species, not hoarded by the leadership. Each species contributed their unique strengths while developing in any direction they chose. Dr. Yu Tai-kyung arrived at the plaza with a group of excited scientists. Kim, you have to see what the crystalline scientists have discovered. Their research into quantum mechanics could revolutionize our shield technology. The crystallines were another non-council species, made of living mineral that could manipulate energy fields. Combined with human engineering, their abilities created possibilities the council had never imagined. Meanwhile, diplomat Jiang Sujin was concluding negotiations with representatives from the Void Swimmers, a species that lived in deep space. They had agreed to share navigation techniques that would allow human ships to travel through dangerous regions the council could not access. This partnership benefits everyone, Jiang explained to the assembled diplomats. Humans provide technology and coordination. You provide knowledge and unique abilities. Together we create something greater than any single species. The Void Swimmer representative, speaking through a translation device, agreed. The council demands submission. Humans offer cooperation. The choice is obvious. Back in council space, the effects of humanity's departure were spreading. Without human logistics networks, trade between distant sectors had slowed dramatically. Several conflicts that human mediators had managed for years were escalating toward war. But in the Human Confederation, trade flowed smoothly between species that had never trusted each other before. Human diplomacy helped resolve disagreements, but every species retained full autonomy over their internal affairs. Captain Park Wubin completed his docking and began unloading passengers. These were the last humans from the Outer Council territories, families who had waited months for transport to the new worlds. "Welcome to New Terra," he announced over the ship's speakers. "Your new home is waiting." Among the passengers was Dr. Choi Min-hee, the psychologist who had been documenting alien reactions to humanity's departure. She carried with her detailed records that would help the Confederation understand how to interact with Council species in the future. "Doctor," greeted Kim Do-hyun as she disembarked, "how are our former colleagues handling the transition?" "Better than expected in some ways, worse in others. They are discovering their own capabilities but also realizing how dependent they had become. Some species are adapting quickly. Others are struggling." "Any regrets about leaving?" Choi looked around at the bustling station where humans worked, alongside species she had never seen before. "None at all. This is what cooperation should look like." Admiral Song received her daily reports from scouts monitoring Council space. The information was sobering. Economic disruption was spreading, military conflicts were increasing, and several species were questioning Council leadership. "Should we offer assistance?" asked her Chief of Staff. "Not yet. They need to understand their situation fully before they will accept change. But begin preparing relief supplies. When they are ready to listen, we should be ready to help." President Lim arrived at New Terra for an inspection tour. As his shuttle approached the planet, he marveled at what they had accomplished. 12 worlds, 8 space stations, and a fleet that could defend them all. Most importantly, they had proven that species could work together as equals. "Mr. President," Admiral Song greeted him at the station. "All evacuation operations are complete. Every human who wanted to leave Council space has been relocated safely." "Casualties?" "Zero. The Council made no attempt to interfere with our departure." Lim nodded with satisfaction. "They are beginning to understand they cannot force cooperation. Phase 4 can begin." "What are your orders, sir?" Lim looked out at the stars, knowing that somewhere in that darkness the Council was struggling to maintain order without humanity's help. "We wait. When they are ready to learn, we will teach them. But only if they ask." The Human Confederation was no longer humanity's secret. Soon, the galaxy would discover what humans could accomplish when they were free to follow their own path. 6 months after humanity's departure, Counselor Vexithera stood before an emergency assembly that looked nothing like the proud gathering of galactic civilization she remembered. Empty seats marked where entire species had stopped sending representatives. The remaining delegates spoke in angry whispers or sat in sullen silence. "Order, please," she called. But her usual authority was gone. Her blue glow had dimmed from months of stress, and several species no longer respected Altarian leadership. General Mordak's stone features showed deep cracks from strain. The situation continues to deteriorate. The hegemony border conflicts have spread to 4 additional systems. Without human tactical support, our forces cannot contain the fighting. "What about the defense grid?" asked Director Yimkarath, whose silicon body flickered with damaged data streams. "Failing. 3 more quantum relays burned out last week. We cannot repair them without human technical specifications. Communication delays between sectors now average 6 hours instead of minutes." Counselor Thelvanis stood slowly, his blue skin now permanently pale. "The economic collapse has reached critical levels. 17 systems have declared trade independence. They refuse to honor Council currency or regulations." "Illegal," shouted Captain Vorth of the hegemony. "Send the fleet to force compliance." "With what fleet?" Mordak rumbled. "Half our ships cannot operate effectively without human-trained crews. The other half are dealing with conflicts that human diplomats used to prevent." The chamber erupted in arguments. Species blamed each other for problems that no one knew how to solve. Some demanded military action. Others called for economic sanctions. A few suggested surrender. High Arbitrator Zulneth floated higher in frustration. I have reports of 63 active disputes that require immediate attention. Without human mediators, I cannot handle even a dozen cases effectively. Then train new mediators, suggested the representative from Verdania. With what authority? Most species only trusted human neutrality. They view council arbitrators as biased toward specific interests. On the outer edge of council space, Ambassador An Kyung-soo sat in a small observation post, monitoring communications between council worlds. His official mission was intelligence gathering, but he also felt genuine sadness watching the deterioration. His communication device activated with an encrypted message from President Lim. Observer An, what is your current assessment? The collapse is accelerating, Mr. President. 4 more species declared independence this week. The Council cannot provide basic services without our infrastructure. Any requests for assistance? Not officially, but I am intercepting private communications between species leaders. Many are discussing alternatives to Council membership. Interesting. Continue monitoring. Do not make contact unless specifically authorized. An understood the strategy. Humanity would not offer help until the Council admitted they needed it. Pride would have to break before rebuilding could begin. In the Council chambers, a new crisis was developing. The representative from the crystalline communes had just delivered shocking news. My people have voted to withdraw from the Council, effective immediately. Vexithara's glow flickered with surprise. Councillor Krextal, surely we can discuss this. What concerns do you have? The crystal being's voice chimed like breaking glass. The same concerns humanity expressed. This council has become dysfunctional. We choose to seek better alternatives. Where? Will you go? Demanded Mordak. That is no longer council business. We wish you well in your future endeavors. The crystalline representative gathered his materials and walked out, leaving behind another empty seat. Whispered conversations spread through the chamber, as other species wondered if they should follow the same path. Director Yimkarath received an urgent message on his personal device. After reading it, his silicon features displayed obvious distress patterns. Counselors, I have received intelligence reports about human activities in unexplored sectors. Finally, said Vorth. Where are they hiding? They are not hiding. They have established a confederation of multiple species in the Outer Rim. According to our sources, over 50 non-council species have joined them. The chamber fell silent. 50 species meant the human confederation might be larger than many council sectors. If they had been building for 3 years, their capabilities could be significant. What kind of species? Asked Zulneth. Unknown to us. The reports mention advanced technologies and capabilities we have never encountered. The humans appear to be sharing their knowledge freely with all Confederation members. Thelvanus looked up from his economic calculations. If humans are trading with 50 species independently, they might have more economic power than the entire council. Impossible, protested Vorth. No single species could organize such a confederation. Humans could, Mordak admitted reluctantly. Their diplomatic and organizational skills were always exceptional. Vexithara called for order as panic spread through the assembly. We need more information before making assumptions. Director, Yimkorath, can we establish contact with this confederation? I have tried. All communications are intercepted by automated systems that provide polite but uninformative responses. What about military reconnaissance? General Mordak shook his massive head. Our long-range scout capabilities depended on human navigation, expertise. We cannot safely explore the regions where they are reportedly located. 3 hours later, the emergency session was interrupted by an urgent communication from the Helixian system. The local governor appeared on the main screen, his reptilian features showing obvious stress. Counselors, we need immediate assistance. The territorial dispute with the Zentharians has erupted into open warfare. Our defense forces are overwhelmed. Vexithara leaned forward. General Mordak, what support can we provide? Limited. Our nearest battle group is engaged in 3 other conflicts. We could redirect them, But that would leave the Corvin sector undefended. How long for reinforcements to arrive? 14 days minimum. Without human logistics coordination, fleet movements take much longer to organize. The Helixian governor's image flickered with desperation. 14 days? My people will be extinct by then. Governor, perhaps you could request mediation through proper channels. I tried. Your arbitrators have a 6-month waiting list. I need help now, not next year. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the council staring at a blank screen. Similar requests had been arriving daily from across council space. Every crisis that human efficiency had prevented was now occurring simultaneously. Captain Bexthor of the Defense Force stood up. Councilors, I must report that morale among our forces is critically low. Many officers are resigning to seek employment elsewhere. Where could they go? Asked Vexithera. Some are joining independent system militias. Others have been recruited by private security companies. A few have simply disappeared toward the outer rim. The implication hung heavy in the chamber. Military personnel were abandoning the council for better opportunities. If the Human Confederation was recruiting experienced officers, their military capabilities could grow rapidly. Yimkarath received another urgent message. Councilors, I am receiving reports that 3 more species have formally withdrawn from the council. The ethereal collective, the nomad clans, and the deep dwellers have all cited institutional failure as their reason for leaving. Panic finally overwhelmed pride. Species representatives began activating their emergency communications, calling home governments for instructions. Some were clearly preparing to leave the chamber permanently. Vexithara raised her hands desperately. Please, honored delegates, we can solve these problems if we work together. How? Demanded Thelvanus. Our infrastructure is failing, our military is overwhelmed, and our economy is collapsing. What solutions do you propose? We could attempt to negotiate with the Human Confederation. The chamber fell silent. For 6 months, the council had refused to acknowledge that humanity's departure had been a catastrophic mistake. Now their leader was suggesting they beg for help from the species they had driven away. General Mordak spoke slowly. What makes you think humans would help us? We provided no support when they requested changes. Why should they assist us now? Because, said a calm voice from the chamber entrance, humans are better than you are. Everyone turned to see Ambassador An Kyung-soo walking down the aisle. His observer status meant he had no right to speak, but no one tried to stop him. Ambassador An, Vexthara said with relief, can you help us contact your government? An smiled sadly. I am no longer an ambassador, counselor, but I have been authorized to deliver a message. He activated a small device that projected President Lim's image above the assembly. The human leader looked tired but determined. Honored members of the Galactic Council, Lim began. Humanity has been monitoring your situation with concern. While we cannot return to council membership, we are prepared to offer humanitarian assistance to any species that requests it. What kind of assistance? Vexithara asked eagerly. Emergency supplies, medical aid, and refugee transport for civilians affected by current conflicts. We will also accept any species seeking membership in our confederation, provided they meet our standards for peaceful cooperation. The chamber erupted as delegates realized humanity was offering a lifeline. But Lim was not finished. However, we will not provide military support. The galaxy changed forever at exactly 1430 Galactic Standard Time, when every major communication network simultaneously received the same transmission. On countless worlds, beings stopped their daily activities to watch as humanity's truth was finally revealed. Investigator Oh Shung-ho appeared on screens across the galaxy, standing in a simple room with the Human Confederation flag behind him. His calm expression carried the weight of 3 years of careful investigation. Citizens of the galaxy, he began in a voice that was translated into thousands of languages. For 3 years, humanity has documented evidence of systematic corruption and manipulation within the Galactic Council. Today, we share this information with all who seek the truth. The first document appeared on screen. A council internal memo from 15 years ago. Director Kang Hee-young, Humanities Media Coordinator, had ensured the presentation would be clear and understandable to all species. This memo, sent from Council leadership to sector governors, explicitly states that member species should be managed to prevent any single species from becoming too powerful. Notice the specific mention of controlled development paths and dependent specialization. On the ice world of Cryos, the Thermal Collective watched in shock as their own development records appeared. Their species had been classified as energy specialists and deliberately prevented from developing space technology. For 2 centuries, they had believed they simply lacked aptitude for space travel. The pattern is consistent across all member species, O continued. Each civilization was assigned a role and systematically discouraged from expanding beyond that role. This created artificial dependencies that kept the Council in control. More documents appeared: budget allocations, trade agreements, and military deployments. Every piece showed the same pattern. The Council leadership enriched themselves while member species remained limited and dependent. Admiral Ko Sang-min took over the presentation. The military data is equally disturbing. Council forces were deliberately kept small and ineffective. Real security was provided by human forces, but credit was given to Council leadership. Battle reports filled the screen showing how human tactics and technology had won victories that were publicly attributed to Council generals. Species that believed their armies were protecting them discovered that humans had been doing most of the actual fighting. On the crystal world of Lumina, the Radiant Assembly watched their own military records with growing anger. For decades, they had sent their young warriors to serve in Council forces, believing they were defending galactic peace. Now they learned their soldiers had been used as expendable troops, while humans carried out the real missions. Dr. Shin Bo-ra presented the scientific evidence. Research data shows that the Council actively suppressed technological advancement among member species. Promising discoveries were classified, their inventors reassigned to safer projects. The screen showed a list of breakthrough technologies developed by various species, all marked as restricted or potentially destabilizing. Cures for diseases, faster-than-light communication, and advanced manufacturing, all held back to maintain Council control. Humans were exempt from these restrictions because the Council needed our problem-solving abilities. We were given access to all suppressed technologies and told to find ways to implement them safely. We had no idea other species were being denied the same information. The revelation struck the galaxy like a thunderclap. On hundreds of worlds, beings realized their civilizations could have advanced centuries beyond their current level. The Council had not been protecting them. It had been holding them back. Councillor Vexithera watched the broadcast from the emergency council chamber, her blue glow dim with shock. Around her, the remaining delegates sat in stunned silence as their entire worldview collapsed. "This cannot be true," whispered Director Yim Karath, but his silicon features showed the stress patterns of deep uncertainty. "Check the authentication codes," General Mordak rumbled. "These documents are genuine," finished High Arbitrator Zulnith. "I recognize my own case files. The legal precedents, the arbitration decisions, all designed to limit member species rights while expanding Council authority." Oh Sung-ho returned to the screen. "The economic data completes the picture. Council leadership and their inner circle accumulated vast personal wealth, while member species struggled with artificial resource shortages. Financial records appeared showing how Council leaders had secretly controlled mining rights, trade routes, and manufacturing centers. They had created the very problems they claimed to solve, then profited from the solutions. On the agricultural world of Verdania, the plant collective rustled their leaves in anger as they discovered their food shortages had been artificially created. The Council had restricted their expansion to maintain dependence on imported nutrients that Council leaders sold at inflated prices. "The Human Confederation offers an alternative," O continued. "In our 3 years of independent operation, member species have advanced more rapidly than in the previous 30 years under Council rule." The screen showed comparison charts of technological, economic, and social development. Every species in the Human Confederation showed dramatic improvement across all categories. They had not just survived without the council, they had thrived. Captain No Byung-hoon appeared next, speaking from the bridge of a human escort vessel. Today we offer transport and protection to any species seeking to leave council control. Our ships are standing by in neutral space to assist those who choose freedom. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the galaxy, planetary, governments activated emergency communication systems to contact the Human Confederation. Some requested immediate evacuation. Others asked for detailed information about membership requirements. The council chamber descended into chaos as remaining delegates received urgent instructions from their home governments. Some species began packing their documents, preparing to leave immediately. Others demanded explanations from council leadership. "How long have you known?" Thelvanis asked Vexithara, his pale blue skin now showing patterns of rage. We received briefings, but I believed they were security protocols." "You knew," accused the representative from the Deep Dwellers. "You all knew and did nothing." General Mordak stood slowly, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. "I served this council for 40 years. I sent good soldiers to die in conflicts we could have prevented. I enforced policies I was told would maintain peace." "General, please, no more words, Counselor. My government has already voted to join the Human Confederation. We leave immediately." One by one, species representatives walked out of the chamber. Some left angrily, others sadly, but all with the same realization. The council they had served no longer existed. On New Terra, President Lim watched the Exodus reports with mixed emotions. Admiral Song stood beside him as data streams showed the scale of the response. 67 species have requested immediate evacuation, Song reported. 34 want to join our confederation. The remainder are establishing independent governments. And the council? Effectively dissolved. Only 12 species remain and they're discussing surrender terms. Lim nodded slowly. "Begin Operation Safe Harbor. Every species that wants to leave council space gets protection and transport. No one is abandoned." The Human Confederation fleet, now revealed to be larger than anyone had imagined, moved swiftly to protect evacuating civilians. Ships that had been hidden in deep space for years emerged to provide escort services and emergency supplies. Dr. Choi Min-hee, now serving as a cultural integration specialist, worked frantically to process requests for Confederation membership. "The applications are coming in faster than we can review them," she reported to her staff. "What's the most common reason given for joining?" asked her assistant. "Equal treatment. They want to be part of a society where every species has the same opportunities for advancement." Ambassador An, now revealed as humanity's chief intelligence coordinator, managed the diplomatic crisis with remarkable skill. "Remember," he told his staff, "we are not conquerors. We are liberators. Everyone who joins us does so by choice." On the former council capital station, Vexithara sat alone in the empty chamber. The lights had dimmed to save power, and most of the station's population had already evacuated. She had chosen to stay, accepting responsibility for her role in the council's failures. A gentle chime announced an incoming message. To her surprise, it was from President Lim himself. "Counselor." "Vexithara," the human leader said kindly. "I understand you have remained on the station. We have a ship standing by to evacuate you and any other officials who wish to leave. Why would you help us? We failed our people and your species." Lim smiled sadly. "Because that's what good beings do, Counselor. They help others, even former enemies, especially those who acknowledge their mistakes. What will happen to us? That's your choice. You can retire to a peaceful world and live quietly. You can work to rebuild better institutions, or you can join our confederation and help us avoid the mistakes you made." Vexthara felt her blue glow brighten slightly. "You would trust us after everything we did? Trust must be earned, but redemption should always be